Zelensky Bad News Ukraine potentially giving up land for NATO membership. While the Israeli land for peace deal hasn't gone as smoothly as hoped, a similar proposal to have Ukraine cede some of its territories to Russia in exchange for NATO membership has been proposed this week. While the Israeli land for peace deal hasn't gone as smoothly as hoped, a similar proposal to have Ukraine cede some of its territories to Russia in exchange for NATO membership has been proposed this week. At a meeting in Norway on Tuesday, Stian Jensen, the Secretary-General's Chief of Staff, made the proposal. According to Jensen, several options have been discussed for ending the 18-month conflict. I think that a solution could be for Ukraine to give up territory, and get NATO membership in return, Jensen said. There has been a land conflict in Ukraine. Since Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the seizure of Ukrainian territory has been a major factor in the conflict. Crimea was annexed by Moscow in 2014, and 4 Ukrainian territories were illegally annexed by Russian President Vladimir Putin in September. Kyiv's war goal has been to reclaim the occupied territory, and that includes Crimea. The idea that Ukraine should give up territory in exchange for peace or even to join the Western Alliance was quickly shot down. Giving up land for the protection of NATO? That's just ridiculous. On Tuesday, advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky Mikhailo Podolyak said on social media that continuing the war would mean choosing the defeat of democracy, encouraging a global criminal, preserving the Russian regime, destroying international law, and passing the war on to future generations. The Great Exodus recommends the following promoted content where people are leaving their home states. The Great Migration, where people are leaving the United States. Number 10 of the Odd Rules for Hell's Angels is required reading. From their list of 20 strange rules, number 10 is the must-do break for it. The advisor went on to say that Russia will remain a long-term threat to European security unless it suffers significant losses in the war. As Podolyak put it, the war will definitely return with Russia's appetite for more. If Putin is not defeated decisively, the political regime in Russia does not change, and war criminals are not punished. On Tuesday, NATO wasted no time in elaborating on its position. We fully support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, said a NATO official after the July summit in Vilnius. To achieve a just and lasting peace, we will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. The pressure is getting to Russia. A high-ranking Russian official argued last month that if the West stopped arming Ukraine, the conflict would be over within days. Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia and now the deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, has expressed concern that the conflict may drag on for decades, or even result in a nuclear war. The Kremlin has previously made similar assertions and criticized the West for providing assistance to Ukraine. But Russia is starting to feel the pressure of a war that looks to be a stalemate at best and could last years in reality. Moscow is feeling the heat from skyrocketing inflation rates, and the ruble's value dropped to below a cent this week. This year, oil prices have fallen while Western sanctions have made it more difficult for Russia to sell its oil. Over the past 3 months, inflation has averaged 7.6%, prompting policymakers to raise key interest rates from 8.5% to 12% at an emergency meeting held on Tuesday. Russia's economy hasn't collapsed, but it's also not in good shape. This is the closest we came to a real economic problem since the start of the war, Janis Kluge, an expert on the Russian economy at the German Institute for International and Security Affairs, told the Associated Press this week. He continued, whatever gives the impression of a weak or unstable economy is not welcomed by the Russian government. Exchange rates are universally regarded as Russia's most important economic indicator. What the author knows and has done before. Peter Susha is a senior editor for the Michigan-based website 1945. Over the course of his 20-year career as a journalist, he has written for more than 40 different publications and seen more than 3,000 of his articles published. He frequently publishes articles on such topics as firearms, military history, cybersecurity, government, and foreign affairs. Peter also writes for Forbes and ClearanceJobs as a contributing writer. His Twitter account can be followed.